fourth quarter with 6 seconds left. From 45. Koo. Got it. Young Wei Koo able to tie the game at 13 from 45 yards.
Inside the Nest, an Atlanta Falcons audio experience. Here is your host, Craig Green.
Touchdown Atlanta!
Young Wei Koo bangs it through. The Falcons draw level and they split the honors with the Cincinnati Bengals. Take it from Atlanta United. Ties can sometimes feel like wins, and after 2 games, the Falcons are still unbeaten this preseason. Welcome inside the Nest. I'm your host, Craig Green. Let's get into it. First off, let's address the injuries. Matt Hennessy is on season-ending IR with a leg injury, and Matthew Bergeron, the rookie from Syracuse, was getting first-team reps at left guard and, as a matter of fact, played with the first-team offense against the Bengals. Clark Phillips III, cornerback, had an ankle injury, but returned to practice on August 13th and played against the Bengals as well. Kyle Pitts, still coming back from the knee injury, has been a full participant in practice. He did play against Cincinnati and made a really nice catch on the Falcons' first offensive drive. Penny Hart, wide receiver, was in the concussion protocol, left the game against the Bengals, and is out for Thursday's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, as is wide receiver Kadero Hodge, who injured his ankle against Cincinnati and will also miss the Pittsburgh game. A quick recap of last Friday's game against Cincinnati, played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the A. So the Falcons starters on offense and defense, they played 1 drive apiece. After that, they took a seat, let the backups come in and handle the rest of the work for the evening. On the Falcons' opening offensive drive, they went down the field and it was ended by an interception by Cincinnati's Joseph Asai. Then the Falcons' first-team defense turned over Cincinnati on downs. Both teams exchanged field goals in the second quarter. So at the half, it's 3-3. Third quarter, Cincinnati takes a lead with a field goal on their opening drive. The Falcons answer right back with Carlos Washington punching it in from 1 yard out to retake a lead at 10-6. Falcons stop Cincinnati on downs once again as the game enters the fourth quarter. And Atlanta gets a beautiful interception by DeMarco Hellams with under 6 minutes to go and a 10-6 lead. They can't run the clock out, have to punt the ball. Cincinnati gets the ball back with 3 minutes to go. They score a touchdown with 50 seconds left on the clock. Third-string quarterback for the Falcons, Logan Woodside, leads the fourth quarter comeback, marches the Falcons down the field. Young Wei Koo ties the game with 2 seconds left from 45 yards out, and that is that. So here's my takeaways from this past Friday's game. I mean, the biggest takeaway for me, penalties were a problem. There were 4 penalties on the first drive that cost Atlanta a potential TD. It was 2 holds on Chris Lindstrom, a hold on Caleb McGarry, and a false start on Drake London. All guys making uncharacteristic mistakes in those moments. 2 of the penalties were in goal-to-go situations. Lindstrom's hold was on 1st and goal from the Cincinnati 4. Ritter ended up getting intercepted on that tip pass shortly after that. And after having only 5 penalties against the Dolphins, the Falcons turned around and had 13 penalties against the Bengals. They kept grinding. They kept working despite being penalized 13 times for 102 yards. They were 6 for 15 on third down. Falcons were 1 of 3 in the red zone. That was the Desmond Ritter interception, the successful Carlos Washington TD, and then Young Wei Koo kicking a field goal towards the end of the second quarter. The Falcons' defense still playing well. They held Cincinnati scoreless until the end of the first half. They only allowed 5.3 yards per pass, but they did allow over 4 yards per carry when they rushed the ball. They have to clean up the penalties because Cincinnati moved the chains 3 times because of flags on the Atlanta defense. So Falcons have to address that. The Falcons The Falcons did stop Cincinnati on fourth down twice, but had only one sack against the Bengals offense. Now, new defensive starters, they looked pretty good. Caden Ellis had a few tackles. Calais Campbell had a couple tackles. Jesse Bates had a third down stop. And as we mentioned, DeMarco Hellams had another nice game, had that really nice interception in the fourth quarter. Desmond Ridder himself, he was solid. The interception really wasn't his fault. And as we mentioned, the Bengals should have been called for PI on that play, but the referees missed it. Matthew Bergeron held up nicely at left guard in place of Matt Hennessy. He looked stout. He didn't give up a lot of ground. And he looked like he was ready to take the lead role week 1 against Carolina. Now, Bijan Robinson, I'm sure everybody wants to know how he looked. Of course, he looked explosive in the small amount of time he got. He looked fast. He looked fluid in his motions, catching passes out of the backfield. And he's going to be a weapon that other teams are really going to have to account for. Mac Hollins, new wide receiver for the Falcons, had a couple of nice grabs. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside also had a couple of nice grabs. Almost scored a touchdown on a really nice effort play to stay in bounds and to stretch for the pylon, but was ruled out of bounds at the 1-yard line. That was the Carlos Washington touchdown. But overall, when you look at the game as a whole, I would say it was a mixed bag for the Falcons because of the penalties, but still a positive result, and they're still trending up in the right direction. The last game on the preseason schedule for the Falcons is going to be this Thursday, August 24th, at home again against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then after that, they'll take a week or so off and then get ready to come back for the Carolina Panthers. So between now and then, they will break camp, and the next episode we have will be after the Steelers game. We'll recap that and also giving our thoughts on what the 53-man roster will look like. Thanks again for tuning in, and as always, want to invite you to follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, Snapchat, YouTube, and Threads at Craig G Sports. Please like and subscribe this podcast. Share it with any Falcons fans that you know. And we'll be back sooner than later with another Atlanta Falcons audio experience. So until the next time we connect with each other, sayonara and buenos noches.